Hi everyone. In today's video, we are going to cover a plant that is perfect for beginner gardeners. This is the Zamioculcas Zamiifolia, better known as the ZZ plant. The ZZ plant goes with a lot of different names. It is called the ZZ plant, the Zanzibar gem. It's also called the Zuzu plant, the aroid palm, the answer tree, eternity plant, emerald palm, so a whole bunch of different names. So this plant is actually a genus of a flowering plant, and it belongs to the family of Araceae, and it's mainly from the Zanzibar region in Africa, native to the eastern African region, right from southern Kenya to northeastern South Africa. This is one of the most hardiest plants that you can grow in your collection, and that's why it is perfect for beginner gardeners. Now in my collection I have 3 different varieties of ZZ plants. Typically I think in most houses you will find this ZZ, which has these nice glossy waxy leaves and got a rhizome, a potato like rhizome below. It looks really like a potato, and then you have these petioles that come up. These stems itself could be also considered to be the leaf petioles, and then you have these very nice and glossy waxy leaves that you have on the plant. As the petioles or the leaves mature, they get a little darker shade, and the most young petiole, it will have a relatively lighter shade. So that's how you can make out the difference between the mature leaves as well as the brand new or the young leaves. Okay. Now this is the regular ZZ, the green ZZ as it's called. This variety here, I have a video already on my channel where I showed you how to repot this. This is a Raven ZZ. And the reason for it being called Raven is this very dark. Actually, these leaves are green, but they look so dark green that they almost look black. That's why it's actually called the Black ZZ. This plant of mine was not doing well. My own fault. I actually overwatered it because I had kept it under my ferns, and then it was getting overwatered. So I had to repot it. After repotting, it's doing well. I had 2 of these stems that I had repotted, and now you see this new stem that has come out as well, and you can see others that are popping out as well. So it's doing pretty well, and I have not watered it, to be honest, after I have repotted it. So I repotted it that day, and then I've just left it as that. Now this is the newest member of the family, very rarely available. This is the variegated ZZ plant, and this looks absolutely stunning. What is so stunning about this is not just the leaves, right? Leaves are of course variegated, but the stems are variegated as well. And I think the leaves look a little different from the normal ZZ leaves. They have a little bit more of a heart-shaped design when compared to the Raven and the green ZZ. Okay, so I'm so excited. Some of them do have the same oblong elongated leaves, but some of them have these heart-shaped leaves as well. This is my ZZ family. Some care tips when it comes to ZZs. ZZ plants, given the nature of where they are from, they prefer to be grown in regions where they don't get enough water. So in the place where ZZs are a native to, very minimal rainfall. So what these plants have developed is a robust rhizome or a bulb or a tuber inside, which looks like a potato, that stores water. So even if it doesn't rain for months together, the ZZ plant can survive. So one of the most drought tolerant plants that you can find in the plant kingdom. In the wild, the way these plants adapt is that if it just doesn't rain for months together, these leaves slowly start shedding. So it acts deciduous, right? And they start shedding their leaves, and then it will actually go down. The leaves will just drop off. but the tuber will still be there. And the minute the first rain comes, the plant will start shooting again. So that's how it adapts in the wild. But as a house plant, care must be taken to ensure that we don't overwater these plants. And that's the first and most important tip when it comes to ZZ, the Zamioculcas Zamiifolia, not to overwater these plants. The minute you overwater these, the first thing that will happen is the roots will get rotten, and then the second thing, you will lose the tuber. And once the tuber and the roots are gone, then it's very difficult then to propagate. You will have to cut it and then repropagate the plant. But you really don't want to lose out on all the growth, all the hard work of growing the plant to that size if you lose everything and you have to restart everything again, right? So ensure that you don't overwater. So even if you don't water them for 1 month, I would say 30 to 45 days, these plants are fine. So my watering tip is this: when you water these plants, water them deeply. Ensure that the water comes down from the drain hole of your pot, and then stop watering for another 30 to 45 days till the soil is absolutely dry. The second tip about this plant is the light. In the wild, of course, does require bright light, but this is one plant that can survive almost all spectrums of light. And that's one of the reasons it is so popular as an indoor plant, because you can grow it inside the house, whether you have a low light area or medium light or high light, you can grow it across the spectrum. The only sensitivity that it would have is keeping it directly under sunlight. That would be something that this plant will not like. So it will burn the leaves, the sensitive leaves that it has, if you put it under direct sunlight. But otherwise, right from low light to high light, this plant can survive various light conditions. All plants require light. Don't put the plant in the darkest part of your house and then expect it to grow well. The more light you give it in terms of the brightness of light, it will show more shoots or more growth ends, and it will grow a lot more vigorously. But if you want this plant to slowly grow, are not really looking for a huge size plant, put it in a medium light area indoors and it should do well for you, as long as you don't overwater it. When it comes to soil, ZZs require soil that is well draining, simply because it doesn't require water to stand. So I would say, if you have good succulent soil, use the same kind of soil for ZZ. So if you see my soil mix, if you see, I am using succulent kind of soil here, which is quite well draining. The minute you put water in it, the water will just come down from the drainage holes, and that's really the kind of soil that you are looking for. Now this one came potted in this kind of very loose cocoa peaty soil, which I'm really going to remove, because in the end, cocoa peat or clay kind of soil is not really conducive for growing ZZ plants. But since the plant is relatively new with me and it still need to get adjusted to my house, I don't want it to give it too much shock at the same time, right? So I'm letting it go through that whole transfer shock first before I give it a transplant shock. So I will repot this one after a point, but for now it is in its current pot and in the current soil mix. So these are three most important factors when it comes to growing ZZs: the soil, the light requirements, and the watering. Now the other thing is, if you see these leaves, and especially given that they are indoor plants, or you would like to keep these leaves glossy, right? So what you can do is you can use a wet cloth and you can wipe these leaves regularly. So I would say probably once in 15 days to once a month, you can wipe with a damp cloth and it should get clean. I would recommend using RO water to wipe it, because if you use your tap water, the minerals in water will leave some spots on the leaves. Now, what if the leaves already have spots and you want to remove them? A good tip is to use diluted lime water. Okay, no sugar, etc. It just squeeze a lemon in water. Use 1 full cup of water, squeeze a few drops of lemon juice into it, and then use a wet cloth or a tissue, dip it into that mixture and wipe the leaves. Any kind of mineral residue you will be able to remove, and you will be able to get glossy leaves. And that's really why you're growing this plant, right? This beautiful gloss on the leaves is what you're looking for. So with these tips in mind, I think you will be able to grow this plant very, very well. Go easy on the watering, and especially remember, indoors you are in a regulated temperature as well. The water doesn't evaporate as quickly as well, right? So don't overwater this plant, and that's, I think, the only tip that I would say will work for these ZZ plants. In terms of pests, etc., I've really not seen. This is a very hardy plant that doesn't get too many pest attacks. In terms of fertilization, it really doesn't require fertilization as much. But if you want to use either vermicompost, once in a while you can top up with vermicompost, or you can use slow release fertilizer. I use Basicoat granules when I'm repotting, but after that I really don't fertilize this plant as much, and it does pretty well for me. Low maintenance plant, non-fussy plant, a beautiful plant. This plant does flower as well, but very rarely. Okay, once it grows to its specimen size, it does develop flowers, but you're not really growing it for its flowers, and the flowers are not that remarkable as well. The spadix and spade kind of flowers, that's what the ZZ plant flowers look like. Okay, so Zamioculcas Zamiifolia, the beginner's plant, or the eternity plant as it's called. If you don't have this in your collection, this is one plant I highly recommend that you get, whether you are a beginner gardener or you are an expert. Zamioculcas Zamiifolia will add that additional zing to your garden. So do add it to your collection. Thanks so much for watching. Have a nice day. Bye.